Everybody, welcome. My name is Kevin Jones, and this is the Beginning Hunter video series here on YouTube. My goal with this program is to educate you, inform you on everything you're going to need to know about becoming a new hunter. So today is going to be part 2 of the introductory series with onX. We're going to be focusing on a couple different things today that were not covered in the previous video. We're going to be focusing on waypoints, how to select a place to hunt once you've actually narrowed it down to your unit. Here to help me is my brother Alex. He's on Instagram as Northwest Hornscraper. He's a guy who's used onX extensively, hunting for mule deer, hunting for elk, doing a lot of duck hunting. He uses it a lot more for waterways, navigating those kind of aspects. So he's going to be throwing in some insight on that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and pick up right where we left off here. We are back at the Oahe unit, Unit 67 here in Oregon. Again, we just picked this area because it was a place that I've never hunted before. We're kind of running a theoretical scenario as if I just got a deer hunting tag in this unit and I never stepped foot here, and what tools I would utilize to figure out where to focus my areas, where I should camp, things like that. So with this part 2 of this introductory series in onX maps, we're going to be focusing on nationwide layers. We're going to get into waypoints. My brother Alex here is going to be covering that, including like line distance, area shape, some of these map tools up here towards the top. But for this first part, we're going to go ahead and focus on nationwide layers. We're going to click on that. There's a lot of things that are offered here. onX does a good job in breaking it down into 3 different categories: hunt, trails and rec, and water. So for this first part, we're going to be focusing on the hunt. As you can see here, there's a lot of things that they offer, some of which I think are more useful than others. There's practically just 2 things that I would recommend you using right out of the gate if you're just new to onX, or if you're just trying to narrow your search. Where am I going to go here? I don't know. Never been there. The first one being the roadless areas. So roadless areas is literally what it says. Where are areas that are roadless, right? I want to find animals and deer that are not being pressured by hunters. So what onX did is they teamed up with Randy Newberg. If you're not familiar with Randy Newberg, I suggest you do yourself a favor and read up on him. The guy is a walking wealth of knowledge. So what he wanted to do is he wanted onX to develop a feature that would find places that were not close to roads. So I think what they ended up doing is they wanted to highlight areas that were 1.5 miles away from roads, because they realized that most people will drive on a main road, park their truck on the road, and hunt within 1.5 miles of that road. So Randy Newberg says, I want to find critters that are not around there, maybe critters that are going into places where there are no hunters, less pressure, right? More sanctuaries, places that they can go and be themselves. So what they did is they created this roadless areas feature. I'm going to go ahead and hit it. You'll see here in a second, this entire map on the Oahe unit just turned into like a kind of a black light disco kind of party scene right here. And it is literally just this, right? You're looking around, what areas are purple, right? Okay, so and I always did this whenever I'm looking at these, because I might focus on some of these areas up here, but what I always do is I always do the squinty eye test. So if you just squint your eyes at this screen right now, what areas really stand out? So I think right down here stands out. Like there's a couple pockets in here and right here, but it looks like that might be a lake, a giant reservoir or something. But I look down here. So if I wanted to go ahead and highlight these things, that's what I would do. So what I would want to do is I'd want to set a waypoint, set an icon right here. Let's say right here and right here, these 2 areas right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the waypoint map tool. So to kind of discuss that a little bit further, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to my brother, and he'll kind of show you how he does it and cover a couple other things. So go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. So like Kevin was saying, waypoints are a huge tool with this program. One of the biggest benefits to it is it's also obviously available on the app and mobile platform. So when you're in the field, depending on service, sometimes you need service for the app, sometimes you don't. You can set waypoints with the app. So here we go. We have all these different types of waypoints. We're going to highlight down here. We're going to drag this guy down here. And then we're going to do location. You can mark animals that you see, ATV, where you're going to park your ATV, where you want to put your blind when you're tracking animals after the shot. You can do blood trails. So in the unfortunate events that sometimes when a wounded animal runs off and it's a really late night and it's more safe to come back the next day, you can just mark where you saw the last blood. Boat ramps, camps where you want to mark your camp. You can do more animals here. Gate where the access gate is to get to this point here. More animals, all sorts of stuff. You can mark your trail cam where your tree stand is. If you're running a trap line, you could put where you set your trap, wallows for water sources for animals, and water sources that you could get water when you're in this backcountry here. I use these waypoints a lot. Sometimes when I'm freestyling in a game unit, or if I'm duck hunting, I'll just mark good spots that I think that there's good waterfowl activity, or geese especially. I find this very helpful. So for this point here, we're going to mark it as a location, and then we're going to rename it. We'll name it Secret Spot 1 or something like that. And then we can write notes, so we could just put isolated area, whatever you want to name the spot. This is a good way to do it. And then so we'll set the waypoint as a location. We'll rename it. And we'll save that right there. So here we go. Now we got this one spot here. So later on when we're researching the area, you could go back and see if this is private property, or a way that you could contact the owner via tax maps on how to access permission for this area here. And a great thing about this is now I can just click on it and it says Secret Spot 1 when I created it, and I can manage it and change it. And here's another spot here, so I can just select another spot with another waypoint, and I'll drag it down there. And for this time, I'll just say I parked my ATV there. So I could just do, if it's the end of a like a log road or a cat road, I could just put ATV spot. Whoops. And then I'll just leave it like that. So anyways, these waypoints are a great tool to be able to find out where you're at, spots you want to look into further. If you're just at first glance looking into this area and you have no idea where to start, you can just turn on the backroad filter and look in further, and then you can just select certain areas that you want to research further to see how you could do back things. And then now you can also do line distance from your point to point. So if I want to figure out how I can get from my ATV to that point, whoops, it's kind of finicky sometimes. So that's about 7.5 miles. So I could just rename this line. Main trail, and this is of course as the crow flies, but you can change the line color and the other options there. So anyways, yeah, it's just an overall very helpful tool. There's a lot of versatility with it, like I said, because you could be driving around and find specific areas that you want to just mark and come back later when you're at home on the desktop, and it's also a great tool when you're out in the field.
So, all right, well, that was a little bit about waypoints, line distances, things like that. We're going to get to area shape probably in the next video, because that will segue nicely into a couple other things that I'd like to cover. So, but at least now, so we took this entire unit. We've never set foot here. Even if these aren't places that ultimately we decide that we want to go to, we don't want to just disregard some of these features that we find as we're chugging along here, because what we'll find is that maybe after all of our research is done, maybe after our phone phase and our open source research phase, which are the next two parts of this program, if both of those also suggest that there's a large concentration of deer and animals and places that I need to go down here, that'll connect nicely with these other two, which are on the roadless feature. Okay, so going back to map layers, again, we're here on nationwide layers. Roadless area is what we're on. So you'll see now that we turned it off, but look what's still here, our ATV and our location that we set, our little secret spot, if you will. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down a little bit more. There's a couple other things that are sponsored by Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and Northwest, or the Wild Turkey Foundation, Eastman's, stuff like that. we could cover all that stuff, but I think I want to touch on the most important and I think the most useful features, which are these right down here. So if you're in, it might not apply so much out here, but I'd at least like to show you guys here. If this was a heavily timbered area, there's a tool here that allow you to do timber cuts. So I don't think anything's actually going to pull up on here because, as you can see, it's pretty desolate. It is the desert. So I'm going to scroll in just a little bit for you guys to really see. I mean, there's not a whole lot of trees to cut out here. But I just wanted to bring that to your attention anyways, the fact that timber cuts, like I said, if you're in a heavily wooded area, in a forest, something like that, you might want to touch on that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that feature off because it didn't do us much good. The feature that will, I think, do us, at least show you another tool that you can use. Again, a little bit more for heavily wooded areas, but I wanted to show you nonetheless, historic wildfire feature. So we're going to go ahead and click that, and what you'll see, this thing looks like it just got infected with something. Like there's a lot of yellows, a lot of reds, and a lot of numbers bouncing up here. So these are exactly what you think. These are fires that burnt, and it gives you an indicator of what year it was that they burnt. So up here, obviously 2013, there was a fire up here. It's also nice. You can click that, and it'll tell you what year it was. It'll give you the fire number, how many acres it burnt, and what unit it was in. So if I wanted to focus and find places that have new vegetation, new growth, because what fires do is they burn everything, obviously, but then after that comes new growth. Nice green, lush yummies. Not so much where we're going to be looking, but there will be new shrubs, right? There will be new sprouts that pop up. Right here, 2016. You know, right now is 2018, so this is a 2-year-old fire, the Cherry Road fire. It tells you what unit it was and how many acres it burnt, right? So these are all things that you should at least consider when you're looking into these. Like I said, there's not a whole lot going on here, but yet it's still a useful feature that I wanted to highlight nonetheless. So it may be looking down here at our secret spot. We see that there was a fire that burnt here in 2006 that was right on our secret spot. So maybe that's something we want to highlight. Maybe not. I guess for the purpose of this, since it's pretty much just an introductory educational video, let's do the most current one, the 2016 one that I'm seeing here. Alex, do you see any other ones? I'm not seeing any other ones. I'm just seeing the 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
So what we'll do is we'll do an area shape. I was going to save this as a secret sauce for the next video, but I'll throw this in here anyways. Area shape. You got to click on it. You get this. It's exact same format as the other tools, but maybe I just want to make a little box just to highlight this. You click on it, and look at this. What is here? Tis a box. So when the box is here, I come up here and I say, let me put this boy down here. Let me see. There we go. You got to double click to leave the box there. So I'll say 2016 burn. Notes. Let me see. I don't know. I'll just say it was roughly 35,000 acres. You can see that because right here, it's roughly 35,000 acres. So I'll just say about 35,000 acres. Yeah, you can mess with area color, line color, style, weight. If you want it to be a really bold line, you can do that. I'm going to hit save, or as I like to say in French, sauver. So now that is memorialized in our map. So when I go back up here to map layers and I turn off historic wildfires, look what's still here. Right there, 2016 burn. So maybe that's a feature that I look at as well. Other things that I want to look at, especially in Oregon, it seems like it is always on fire, at least in like August or September. It's always on fire, like nonstop. So what we could do, and I might even bounce out a little bit just to show you as an entire map. So as you can see right here, Oregon's still pretty much not on fire, which is great. You got a little one down here at the California border. So you can zoom in just to at least look at this, just so I can show you as a good example. So again, this is the current wildfires. I turned it off. I turn it back on. And I can click on this, and it tells me, is it active? Oh, yeah. What date was this current of? Oh, it was current as of yesterday. Today's the 11th. It was current as of yesterday. So it also talks about like rough acres, the shape that it's in. And is this the latest upload on the exact boundaries? No, it's not, because this was as of yesterday. So that was the current wildlife fire feature. One thing to note is that this is an incredibly useful tool, because I have had actually Alex and I, when we were mule deer and bear hunting, was it last year?
A couple of years ago.
2 years ago?
We were in a wildfire zone.
Yeah, we were in we had geared up the entire year to go on this kind of wilderness, more or less backpacking trip. We knew where we were going to park, we knew what we were going to do, and we found out that everything was on fire. And we really had no way of knowing it unless we were to try to keep up with local news, stuff like that, which luckily we were able to do because it showed us, and we had to plan accordingly. But this is really good, especially right before you go on like a bow season or a bow hunting season, especially anything in the summer months. You're going to want to keep an eye on the current wildfires, because something can spark right up.
And both of the wildfire tabs are both extremely helpful. Obviously, the active burns help you plan your trip accordingly, and they usually update it just as much, if not more, than the news stations, and it's easy to see. The historic wildfires are obviously very helpful. We like to use those. Well, I mean, for elk hunting, they like, depending on where you're going, they like certain vegetation, certain age of trees. So, I mean, if you want to look at like special areas that are rich in animals and also not stressed because of the wildfires, both those tabs are very helpful.
So that's pretty much it for this section. We're going to go ahead and turn off the wildfire tab. We're going to scroll up. There's a couple other ones that you can buy. I'm not going to go into those because, frankly, I haven't bought them, and I think I'm doing okay without them. And plus, I don't feel like since I haven't bought them, I am not in a position to tell you if they're useful or not. So another thing is like timber cuts. Like I said, I think I touched on that. Precipitation radar. If you're hunting the coast, or if you're hunting a place that you're concerned you might get hammered with rain, this would be a good feature. As you can see, since we're going to be hunting the desert here, there's not a whole lot of precipitation that's bouncing through. You get a little bit over here in Idaho, but not any right here. So if I was going to be going to hunt this, I wouldn't really have to worry about a huge rainstorm moving in. I guess that's fortunate or unfortunate. So that was the hunt. That's pretty much the features I use the most. Trails and Rec, there's two things that I want to focus on in here. Again, not so much for this exact unit. For this feature, I'm going to kind of come up here a little bit because there is, it's a lot more heavily forested up here with a lot more sites. But I'm going to go ahead and just show you this. This is the trail feature. You click that, you look like, it looks like a checkerboard just kind of came up. These are all trails, right? Voila, look at all these. So if I was going to go hunt in here and I wanted to know how the heck I'm supposed to get down to here, I'm going to use the trail feature. Or at least this will tell you where the trails are. There's a couple other things that trails have going on. Recreation sites, you click that, you see these little guys just pop up and all these other little icons. Those are literally just features that maybe I want to go here. Oh, that is the Timothy Guard Station. Okay, good to know. So if I'm going to be hunting this area and I want to stop in at the Timothy Guard Station, I can do that. So just wanted to show you that. So that was recreation sites, trails. Two other features that I didn't really think I was going to use a whole lot when I was planning these hunts, but are trail slope. So watch this. I click this, and it turns it into kind of like a nice little Christmas tree pattern, right? So I turn it off, turn it on, trail slope. Green means good, easy walking, loving life. Yellow means you might be sweating a little bit. When you get to these red, that means it's a really steep area. It's something that you might not want to expect to be able to breeze right up. I guess depends on your level of fitness, but onX wanted to be able to highlight these things. So last but not least, trail mileage. If you're looking for something to kind of give you an idea, I'll show you this one just because it's easy. If I was going to start off here on Kendall Skyline Road and I was going to come up here and I didn't know how long this is going to take me, instead of the line distance, which gives you a rough idea, I would just look here. So trail mileage 2.5. It's not feet, it's miles, right? So I would know that it's 2.5 miles from right here to right here. And this is important too because oftentimes, let's do this with line distance. I just hit the line distance button, and this is saying that it's really only 1 mile, right? It's only 1 mile, but that's if you were a bird and you were flying through the sky, it would take you a mile to get there. But since we're going to be using the quads that God gave us, that is not a mile. It's actually 2.5. Went on delete my line. Yep. So just keep that in mind. So we did recreation sites, trails, trail mileage, trail slope. Those are the big ones on Trails and Rec. Alex has used the water ones a little bit, but since we're not going to be focusing this as a, as a hunting, or as like a duck hunting seminar episode, what have you, we're going to kind of breeze through that. Alex, you just want to touch on it really quick, what you've been able to do.
Yeah, the biggest thing I use with the water is it's just a really helpful tool with like quick nautical charts. If you want to pay attention to them, you can also use them fishing. So you just go over here above Astoria here, and you can just hit it on, and it'll load real quick. So here we go. You can just look. Here's Cape Disappointment. You can pay attention to that, and it'll tell you what charts to refer to. And then it usually comes out all the way to international waters, if not further. It's just an easy tool. It's really quick. You can have it on your app, so you don't have to have the fancy equipment if you have a smaller boat. And you can usually follow rivers all the way up. So yeah, it's just a helpful, quick tool that is easy to carry with you.
Now, did you have to spend extra money on that?
No, that was included.
It just comes in. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So the ones we're showing you are pretty much all the included ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, like he said, you could pay for the extra packages, but it's just in-app purchases pretty much. You can do with the basics.
So are you familiar, just for people that are trying to get into this, are you familiar of anything else besides, like, I guess, some equipment strapped onto the boat? Anything else that is similar like this, like a similar product that people use for, like, nautical needs?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can get your boat electronics, but this is obviously a lot cheaper alternative because you can use your phone and a computer. If you're staying here in Astoria, you can just refer to those. And it's just a lot easier, and it's a lot cheaper. Boat electronics are not cheap. And yeah, and also another thing I was thinking about as we continued in the video with the waypoints. So we still have ours down here from the original Oahe waypoints that we set. We can do these all around the area, and you can add them. So say, going back to the waypoints, say you're going to do some upland bird hunting. Where's that? Or say you're going to do a trap line. Oops. Here we go. We'll just add a quick blind. We're going to put our duck blind over here on Mount Hood. And you can just hit blind. There we go. And now we can just mark our blind there. So you can do these all the way across, no matter the game management unit, it'll save it all the way across the state. So after a while, if you're doing the whole state, you'll have them all over. But I just wanted to touch on that these save even if you're out of the unit, so you can have a whole catalog of information.
That's actually a really good point. So what we're going to go ahead and show you now is we're just going to zoom in really quickly. 2 more reminders before we wrap up. If I wanted to, again, look at different features, I could hit topography, look at that. I can hit a hybrid map and then a satellite map. So again, from big brain, big perspective stuff. What do we know now? We know there was a fire here in 2016. We didn't know that before we started. And we know now how to save waypoints. We know how to change them into what we need. Keep in mind, guys, you can do all this kind of stuff on your smartphone or on your GPS as well. But it is nice for me to be able to sit here at my computer and do it in here. So next video, we are going to focus, part 3 of this is going to be focusing on what I like to call the open source phase, which is, okay, so now we know that there was the fire, we know how to do these things, but I still need to know where to go, right? I don't know where people have found success hunting this unit, right? I have a deer tag. I don't want to just drive over there, and ideally I don't want to blindly place icons and waypoints hoping that I see deer. I could do that, but that's what I could do that without the app, right? I can just drive down the road and say, wow, this looks great, and then park and hope that it works out. I don't want to do that. I want to go in with the best amount of information that I possibly can. So with that, we're going to be moving into the open source phase. How can you use the internet to your advantage, right? How can you find and connect with people who have hunted this before, maybe have grown up hunting it, maybe hunt it right now, maybe they're hunting it this season, maybe they live out there. How do you connect with those people, and how do you glean information from them? How can you create a relationship where you can give them something in return, right? So I always warn people, don't have it be a one-way street. So if you ask for information, offer information, right? To the best that you can. If you're starting to hunt, well, then you don't have much information to offer, but there's a couple other things that you can keep in mind when you ask for that information anyways. So that'll be part 3. We're going to go ahead and wrap up right now. So again, my name is Kevin Jones, here with my brother Alex, with the Beginning Hunting Video Series here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, go ahead and do all that kind of stuff. Keep an eye out for part 3. We'll see you then. Thanks.